What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be checking out some champions I think that carry a ton better at lower ranks than they might do like higher up the ladder. I did one of these before and these are going to be the 8 champions I talked about, so we're going to look at different ones today. Though if you want to check that video out, I'll drop a link below, and remember these are going to still be good no matter what patch it is. By the way, when I say lower ranks, there is literally nothing wrong with it at all. It's just an easy way to group players together and target picks that might be better. One of the things you guys said specifically last time was that you liked the video and format and stuff, but you wanted more carry picks, so that's what we've got this time. You don't really carry much harder than Annie, to be honest. Like, you can spank your lane opponent and just keep crushing the game. The number one, like, normally is that she's a very easy champion. Like, you're easy to farm with, easy to play, just point and click, stun, and you ult, right? And I guess that's kind of true, but to me that's not even why she's so amazing at lower ranks. Really, for me, it's because you can dumpster opponents who make mistakes. If they get too close, if they get greedy with CS, they stand anywhere they shouldn't, you are great at ulting and blowing them up basically in one rotation and punishing them for it. Now at higher ranks, they're going to expect it a little bit more. They'll respect the Annie player as well. They'll play safer, but at lower ranks, they normally don't, right? It's easier to find ult targets and just keep extending your lead, which is really important. I actually think she's top tier in general at the moment anyway, but she will just do a lot more work at lower ranks too against worse opponents. It's not just the laner phase, but in my opinion, that is the biggest thing. Like, easier to play with a lead and your team will be able to do more as well. Now, I didn't even realize in the last video, I actually left top lane completely out of it, so let's just get into one of those now. Renekton is one of those champions where he's like easy to play, I think, but kind of hard to master. Like, there are a lot of little things that you can do to get better at him, like correct fury management, like ability combos, lane pressure, the right time to trade, matchups, team fighting. All of them are fine at a basic level to do, but they can just be used like in a different way to have more effect. He is very similar to Annie in a way, I think. Like, you're very good in lane, right? You're easier to play with the lead, and what I mean more is just like, yes, you have more gold, right? You can do more, you can carry harder, which is great, but it's also because your opponent, like, they will have less gold and they're less likely to carry. So those are two really big reasons to focus on the lane phase first, more than other things when you're trying to climb. There are a couple of other things though. So you win 1v1s for sure, but you also win 1v2s. Like, your ultimate, your heal, your damage is really hard to deal with, and you become a massive problem if you get ahead. You're very hard to shut down. You have this like sustain as well, so the healing covers up bad trades if you make a mistake. Combined with like your ults as well, you can turn around a lot of different fights and catch people off guard. Your ultimate also makes you tanky, so you can like build damage to start the game, right? It's easier to carry when you're actually the one killing people in most cases, but really you pick this guy to dominate the lane phase, get it out of control, and kill everyone. I know I just said like normally it's better to carry with damage and kill stuff yourself, and while that's normally true, Zac is kind of like the exception, but he does both. You have really good base damage values anyway, so you actually are going to be a threat, and you're hard to kill though. Like, you have tanky, yes, like tanky stats and stuff, but the passive also takes a lot of time to get rid of. What we're talking about is passive, by the way. Something a lot of people don't do, especially at lower ranks, is actually dive with Zac. Zac is so good at diving because you go in with your passive, like you tank, you go to your passive, and you'll net a kill and just revive back as long as there are minions there. It's not even just the passive that like makes him more tanky. I say this a lot, but his displacement is amazing. So like knockups and stuff give extra time where he isn't taking damage in the first place. The thing is, being tanky is kind of pointless unless you can actually get into a fight and use it, which you can do. You have a very long range engage, good ganks, and you can set up team fights as well, but you actually do loads of damage when you build some pen as well. It is so silly. Like, no tank should be able to do that much damage in my opinion, but basically he has everything you need except hard crowd control, but he does have like knockups. He's very similar to a Temu, right, who is tanky, does damage still, so you can actually carry, but it's like no lockdown, just knockbacks instead. In my opinion, when you're jungling at lower ranks as well, it's also very important to have a good clear but sustained clear, so like a healthy clear. Most players are not really going to have like a solid game plan of what they want to do and stuff, but you're like clear and gank if you're still healthy. So actually, as dumb as it sounds, like staying healthy and high health in the jungle, not taking as much damage, will increase your map impact and how much you gank as well. Recently, he's been doing really well at lower ranks, like one of the very few champions to have a good win rate consistently patch to patch, and part of it must be just because he's so forgiving as well. You make a mistake and it's okay, like passive or you're tanky anyway, you don't have to play a perfect game to win. Right, next up is a mid laner and a support, I guess, who funnily enough is actually going to be super good next patch, which is nice for this video. These champs like aren't aimed at patches though, it's like more just in general, but it'd be a good time to pick him up anyway because Brand is getting a buff. So you pick this guy for damage. That's kind of the whole point. You think of him like a Zyra but longer range, right? You sit back, you poke, you stun, you combo, and boom, you kill people. If you play him as a support, then you kind of have that damage from range, but it's also a massive kill lane. Like, it's rare to have both of them, but to be honest, like, you stun a support, right, you have enough to actually kill them quite easily afterwards. Mid lane is very similar. Like, you push and poke at the same time with your W W, get them lower over time, you stun, ult W, and you're going to be killing people a lot. It's very strange to me because actually when looking at this pick, like normally we look for mobility, safety. Like Brand doesn't really have any of that at all. So if you make a mistake, you stand in the wrong place, you're probably going to get punished for it. He's also relatively like combo reliant, I think more than other picks anyway, so not as simple, but that overall would normally suggest he's better at higher or like mid ranks. But actually no, he's always at the top of win rates in bronze and silver. So while like the damage side is very obvious anyway, I've said it a bunch of times already, I think it's just like how annoying he is. Like if you think about it, okay, Rod of Ages, Rylai's, like that is very tanky and hard to kill. Throw in Liandry's though and you're doing a bunch of damage now, so very hard to deal with, which is a perfect thing for lower ranked queues. That's got to be why to me that he's so good. Like a triple burn, which is like Deathfire, Touch, the Mastery, the Keystone, the passive, Liandry's, and you have Burst as well. Like basically a lot like an Annie actually. When you're playing against Brand, if you cock it up and you get hit by a few pillars by accident, then you're probably chunked and too low health to fight anyway. So it's really hard to play against. I mean, that's unless he's actually killed you anyway. Now the next one is an actual mid laner though, so Twisted Fate. I'm always skeptical about putting him on one of these videos for lower ranks because he's good at higher ones as well. But you like, to me right now, I think especially like this season, I think he could be better at lower ranks. This comes down to something we said earlier with Zach. So it's having like a game plan. Nobody really does it. Like even at higher ranks, people don't do it enough. They don't have a solid idea of how they're going to win or what they'll do. But with Twisted Fate, it's kind of different. You survive the lane phase, you maybe kill them if you're bad, but normally you're just going to farm and chill. But you get 6, you roam bot lane, you get behind them, stun, kill, do that again a bit later, take the tower, get tower first blood and dragon, and there you go. The game is already massively in your favor at that point, and it sounds so easy, but that is like how 90% of Twisted Fate wins actually played out. With a proper direction or idea and game plan, I think players like 10 times more effective, and that combined with Twisted Fate as a champion, like high damage, low cooldown, stun, kind of easy, just makes him perfect. It's not even like the smaller things like infinite mana, wave clear, good damage later, gold generation for your passive, so you farm like shit, it doesn't matter because you still get rich. Like all of this stuff is so good. Your lane phase being zero pressure as well is a good thing. Like I know I've actually just said a lot that you want to win your lane phase, but you don't have to win on Twisted Fate. You don't have to snowball and be aggressive like a Renekton, for example. Normally that's a bad thing, I think, but you can sit back, you get gold, and you roam and do your thing when you've got your ultimate. Like that is how you're going to get your lead. It doesn't have to be in your lane, it can be in one of the side lanes. Okay, so let's talk about Soraka. I always call her like the anti-smurf. Like basically you shut down any smurf you play against really unless you stuff it up completely. Even if they are better than you like mechanically or knowledge wise, it's so hard to trade because you have this massive sustain advantage. They basically have to go balls deep and kill you or your AD because otherwise you're going to heal back after and you'll actually get a lead from that. It is stupid. Like you will get a lead from them making a normally good trade. But yeah, that's kind of why like Soraka is so solid at lower ranks. That, by the way, is if they know what they are kind of doing, so they'll kind of avoid those situations. Like a bad player is going to trade anyway and just lose out. Like you add in your poke and they are so screwed in that lane. It's kind of like legit the worst thing to play against. Like anti-aggro, anti-snowball, your AD is always going to get in farm unless he's a complete dumbass, and even if he is, you're probably still going to keep him alive. This is a weird one because like you carry without actually doing much damage or killing anyone. That's super strange in a game that revolves around kills, but that's kind of my point, I guess. It stops your team dying, it stops the enemy team getting kills and getting a lead afterwards. Okay, so let's talk about one more jungler, Fiddlesticks. Now this might be more of like a silver to gold pick, maybe, I'm not too sure. It relies on you as a player basically more than anything else. Fiddle is good at high ranks as well, but he can be punished early in the jungle, and also people are going to ward, they're going to play around his ultimate more. Those things don't really happen at lower ranks, let's be honest. Like people will fight even when they can't see him because they don't think about it, like out of sight, out of mind, right? And you're just going to ult over the wall and everybody is going to be dead. People won't punish him in the jungle probably either and will let him farm to his items. And even though he seems a bit more complicated, I guess, kind of, I think the only part that is going to be that like complicated is when and where you ult from. Like you get that down and the rest is easy. You ult in, you silence to prevent flashes when you're in there, fear a priority target, and you drain it till they're dead. Zhonya's if you're going to die. Like it's so easy to play this guy. Your sustain the jungle also makes him very easy to play really because you're never going to get low. Like if someone invades your jungle, you fear and run away. Again, like before, it's always very good to be full health, so you'll actually hopefully end up ganking more. This is one pick for sure where you are definitely carrying with damage though, not in other quirky ways, just literally killing everybody. You ult in, you kill stuff, and there's nothing they can do. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about these and leave any others you have. But now let's go to the robots.